how it is distributed. As you know that, as we mentioned that nearly 3/4 of Earth is covered by water, or 75% of Earth is covered by water. Only a very small amount of this water is fresh water. Fresh water is that humans and animals need to survive. Okay, we need fresh water. Only a very small amount of all water on Earth is fresh water, while the majority of water on Earth is salty or salt water. طيب. Now, the question is how fresh water is distributed over Earth. This graph represents or shows the distribution of water on Earth, and as you see that 97.5 of water on Earth is salt water. The water that is colored here in blue, all of it is salt water. 96.5 of it, 96.5% of this water is found in the oceans, and 1% other saline water and other sources. So 1% plus 96.5% equals 97.5%. So 97.5 of Earth's water is salt water, 96.5 in the oceans, and 1% in other saline water. The word saline means salty. طيب. Now, only in the yellow, this part that is colored in yellow is fresh water. It is 2.5% only. 2.5% of all water on Earth is fresh water. And this graph or this circle shows how it is distributed. So this circle represents all of the 2.5%. طيب. So most of Earth's fresh water, most of Earth's fresh water is found in the glaciers. In glaciers. Glaciers are slowly moving body of ice on land. Glaciers are huge sheets of ice. They are moving very slowly. Most of Earth's fresh water found in the glaciers. So that means this water 68.7% of Earth's fresh water is found in the glaciers, so it is not available for humans because it is frozen. It is frozen. Yes, it is fresh, but it is frozen, so it is not available for use. Okay. The fresh water also 30% 0.1 sorry, 30.1% of Earth's fresh water is found under the ground or groundwater. To take this water or to use this water, we must obtain it from underground. So as you see that the majority of Earth's fresh water is found in the glaciers and groundwater. Only 1.2% of Earth's fresh water is found on the surface. On the surface and other fresh water. On the surface, we mean by surface like springs, rivers, lakes, streams. Okay, so this graph. This graph shows the total amount, the total global water, fresh and salty, and this graph show the distribution of fresh water on Earth. The majority of fresh water on Earth is found in the glaciers and then under the ground, and only 1% found on the surface. طيب. Can you, without using the book, can anyone summarize for me this? Can you can anyone talk about the distribution of water or the water on Earth and fresh water on Earth? Can anyone summarize this without cheating from the book? Can anyone try? Can anyone? Okay, Hassan, يلا.
To describe
In your own language, you can. يلا Hassan.
Okay. The water on Earth, we have
this amount of it
علي صوتك شوي.
water drinkable. It's undrinkable water.
Okay.
And fresh water, we find it in lakes, glaciers, and surface underground water.
Excellent. Excellent, Hassan.
Just
Thank you. Can anyone talk? Thank you, Hassan. Thank you very much. Excellent.
welcome.
Can anyone talk about water on Earth and using numbers, using percentages? محمد الحايك. Okay, you can talk, please. تفضل.
Yeah. 97.5 salt water
Yes.
and 1.0 fresh water.
Not 1.0, 2.5. 97.5 is a salt water and thank you, Ahmed. Continue, yalla. Thank you, that's good.
2.5 fresh water.
Yes.
And 30.1 groundwater.
Excellent.
And 1.2 surface ocean, other fresh water.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, excellent. Okay, so first, again, the majority of, as we see in this circle or the pie chart, the majority of Earth's water is salt water. It makes up 97.5. Majority of salt water is found in the oceans. Only 2.5 of Earth's water is fresh water, okay? And this fresh water, is distributed like this. 2.5% of Earth's water is fresh, and it is distributed like this. The majority of Earth's fresh water is found in the glaciers as frozen water, and 30.1 as groundwater. Only 1.2% is on the surface. طيب. Let's read this caption. Water that is saline. The word, please, saline. Add this word to your dictionary. The word saline means salty. Okay, saline or salty. The water that is saline has large amounts of dissolved salts. What is the meaning of salt water? When we say that water is salty or saline, that means there are large amounts of dissolved salts, okay? While fresh water has no salt dissolved in it or a very, very little amount of salt. طيب. The Mediterranean Sea is an example of a body of water that is made of saline water. Not only Mediterranean Sea, by the way, Red Sea, if you know what is Red Sea, Gulf of Aqaba is part of the Red Sea. It is also saline water. The Atlantic Ocean is saline water. The Pacific Ocean is saline water. So not only the Mediterranean just an example. So saline water or salt water contains a large amounts of dissolved salts, while fresh water has no dissolved salt in it or a very, very small amounts of dissolved salts. Right. By the way, I want you to know that we mean in science, salt is not only the table salt that we use in our food is salt. When we say salt in science, it doesn't mean only the table salt that we know. There are also another types of salt. طيب. Inshallah, you will learn this later. Okay. This chart, okay, shows the distribution of surface water, surface and other fresh water. How is the surface fresh and other fresh water distributed on Earth? Right. Here the majority of surface water, as you see, this part makes up 69.69% or almost 70%. 69% of surface fresh water found a ground ice and permafrost, found on the ground as ice. طيب, what is the permafrost? As I told you, permafrost is a frozen ground. Some areas on the world, in some areas of the world, they are very cold. The ground or the soil is almost frozen all around the year. Most of the year, the ground is frozen. This is called permafrost in some parts of the world. طيب. So 69% of surface water or surface fresh water found in the ground as ground ice and permafrost. طيب. And look at this color, a different color, 20%, 20.9% or almost 21% found in the lakes. Okay, found in the lakes. Okay, look at this green part, and 3.8% as soil moisture. What is the meaning of soil moisture? That soil that you see, you think that soil is completely dry. No, inside soil there is water. It is called soil moisture. Moisture has the same meaning of wet. Inside soil there is water. The total amount of water in soil all over the earth
Teacher,
makes up 3.8% of all water on earth is found in the soil as soil moisture. So soil is not completely dry. If you analyze, if you take a sample of water and you go to the
teacher,
laboratory, wait, and you test this sample, you can find water inside the soil. It's called soil moisture. Okay, who's talking? مين عنده سؤال؟ سلمى أورس حسن.
مين حسن
يا تفضل.
permafrost like wild Russia.
Like what?
Wild Russia.
Okay, countries, there are a lot of countries, not only Russia, that the ground is frozen all around the year.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Russia is very cold area, صح, of course. And areas that
I saw
are,
it in National Geographic.
yes, and also the North Pole and the South Pole. These areas, almost all of the year, the ground is frozen. It's called permafrost. Thank you, Hassan. طيب.
Welcome.
سلمى كيفك؟ طيب.
الحمد لله.
طيب. Also, do you understood what is soil moisture? So water inside soil, water that is inside the soil is called soil moisture. طيب. And also 3% of Earth's fresh water is found in the atmosphere. As you know, that in the atmosphere there are clouds, okay? And these clouds make up contains condensed water. So 3% of Earth's water is found in the atmosphere, and 2.6% found in the swamps and marshes, okay? And also the point only 0.5. رانيا ليش متأخرة يا رانيا؟ 0.5 of Earth's fresh water is found in the rivers, and 0.2% in the living things inside human bodies, inside animals. Okay, this is the total amount of Earth's fresh water on the surface. طيب, look at this question. List for غسان, انت موجود؟ طيب. List for fresh water.
اسف اني تاخرت.
Don't worry. List for freshwater sources that are included in surface water. From this graph, list for freshwater sources that are included in surface water. Can you Can anyone answer this question?
Just for fresh water.
استنى شوي بدنا نشوف مين بيقدر يجاوب.
Can I mean, please?
طيب علي صوتك. سدين يلا تفضلي.
Me.
سدين.
Rivers.
And rivers, good. This is one.
Lakes.
Wait.
Lakes.
Just one. خلص سلمى احكي بس وحدة.
Okay.
Rivers. Thank you. Rivers make up how many? 0.5%.
0.5.
Now, two إيش? Who can answer? سيرين يلا سيرين.
Pond.
إيش هما؟
Pond.
Ponds?
Yeah.
Okay, you can use this big figure. طلع من this figure. You can find from this figure.
Yeah.
Mr. Me, can I?
استنى ملا استنى خلي سيرين شوي. يلا سيرين.
Pond.
بونز مش مكتوب البونز هما هون.
Swamp.
Swamps, excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Can I?
استنى wait. ملاك wait. هسه راح اخلي the chance for ملاك. But swamps and استنى شوي. Swamps and marshes makes up how much? 2.6%.
Yeah.
طيب ملاك 3.
Lakes.
Lakes, excellent. Where are the lakes? Okay. Can you tell me the percentages of lakes or how?
2.9.
20.9. Excellent, Malak. 20.9% of Earth's fresh water on the surface is found in the lakes. Another, who can tell me also? Who can give me another example?
Sir, can I?
Ahmed Abu Khayt, of course. تفضل.
Atmosphere.
Yes. How much?
3.0.
Yes, 3.0 through 3, yes, or 3.0 or 3 of Earth's fresh water on the surface is found in the atmosphere. Thank you, Ahmed. That's right. Okay, you can also add another sources. Atmosphere makes up 3.0%. راحت البرسنتج. Okay. That's right. Excellent forever. Thank you very much. طيب. Can I erase?
هذول
Yes.
ما عندي
هذول.
غلط.
وين عندي غلط حلو
بالستين.
ولا تعال لهون.
طيب.
5 في 2 10 0 1 بلاد 5 في 1 5 1 6 6
طب ثواني أنا حطينا 10 هنا 10 20 30 هنا 40 هنا 50 صح 5
طيب.
2 2 4 هيك 8 هيك 10
60 قل عم
هيك
ولا
60
مش
طيب اوكي. Now we are going to talk about freshwater shortages. What is the meaning of shortages? When you, for example, shortages, the word shortages means that when you have a shortage in something, that means you have less amount than you need. If you have a shortage in anything, shortage of money, for example, you have a little money so that you can't buy what you need. Shortages means that you have a less of something than you need, less than you need. And of course, in the world or in air, there is a shortage in fresh water. All fresh water on earth is not evenly distributed. I mean, some countries of the world are rich in water, while other countries in the world are poor in water. Jordan, one of the countries that have one of the countries that there is a shortage. In Jordan, we have or we suffer from a shortage of fresh water. So, in general, there is a freshwater shortage on earth or on the world in the world. This is of course a very very big problem because water is is the most important resource on earth. Life will not continue without fresh water. Organisms will die. All processes on earth, all processes on earth depend on water, even industry, even human activities, factories, many things depend on water, not only living things. So, as I mentioned that Earth's fresh water is not evenly distributed or spread out. The meaning of evenly, equally, يعني or okay, the Earth's fresh water or fresh water on Earth is not distributed equally or not spread equally over the Earth. Some areas of Earth like wetlands, areas like Europe, for example, they are rich in water. But countries like, for example, deserts, there is a very little amount of water. But some areas, okay, such as Brazil's rainforest. This, of course, you know where is Brazil. Brazil lies in the tropics, in the equator, at the equator. Brazil's rainforest get rain almost all around the year, daily. Did you know that every day there is rain falls in Brazil rainforest? Type. Other areas, on the other hand, such as Chile's Atacama Desert, okay, this is Chile's Atacama deserts, okay, are dry. The opposite, of course, of wet is dry, okay? Dry is the opposite of wet, are dry all the time. That means almost there is no rain. There is no rain. طيب. In places like Nebraska, people rely or depend on water pumped from aquifers. What is an aquifer? Aquifer is an underground water supplies. Aquifer, this word means underground water supply. The aquifer lies always under the ground. Look here. To understand what is an aquifer, this is the surface of earth, okay? This is surface of earth, okay? طيب. As you know that when precipitation falls or water that run off on this air surface, sometimes the water soak under the ground. And this water that soaks under the ground called groundwater. طيب. Called what? Groundwater. طيب. طيب. This groundwater collects, as you know, there are rocks under the ground. There are rocks like this. Okay, sometimes the water or groundwater collects in between the rocks, okay, and make something called aquifer. This is called aquifer, okay? So groundwater collects between rocks under the ground. This is called aquifer. So aquifer is the place, it is the place where the groundwater collects under the ground. People, of course, pump this underground water, pump it to the surface by using special machines. طيب. Do you understand what is an aquifer? طيب ايش يا حسن? Do you have any question? علي صوتك يلا. انا عملت ميوت عشان كان في صوت ازعاج. طب ويت شوي. اوكي حسن تفضل.
Yes, mister.
استنى حسن حجير موجود.
Yes, yes.
اوكي حسن علاون تفضل.
Like Zamzam water.
ايش هو؟
Like Zamzam water.
Zamzam is completely different. It's something that is, it's a miracle. يعني
Yes.
no, Zamzam is not a groundwater. Thank you, Hassan, for this question. Thank you. But something, Zamzam is completely different from this. طيب. Do you have any? Is there anyone that have a comment or في حد عنده سؤال؟ طيب. So an aquifer is the place where the groundwater collects. طيب.
Mister.
أيوة. Who has? مين اللي عنده سؤال؟ تفضل.
What's the groundwater?
إيش
What's the groundwater?
Okay. Selma, do you forget the water cycle?
No.
طيب. Water on earth can be found on the surface, like this lakes, rivers, streams, oceans. Also, water can be found under the ground. Sometimes water go deep. Sometimes water go deep under the ground and collects in aquifers. This water that we found it under the ground is called groundwater. Simply, groundwater, you can call it also underground water. Water that is hidden under the ground. Clear?
Clear.
مين بيعرف يقولنا بالعربي الجراوند ووتر؟
مياه جوفية يا أستاذ.
ايش اسمه؟
مياه جوفية.
اكسلنت، المياه الجوفية. اكسلنت. طيب الآن the aquifer يعني زي ايش الاكويفر؟ Simply you can think of aquifer as a tank of water, but where? Under the ground, between the rocks. Okay, so the aquifer is a tank of water, but it is found between the rocks under the ground. طيب. So let's continue. In places like Nebraska, I forget where is Nebraska, but I think it is in, I think it's maybe in United States. Okay, in places like Nebraska, people depend on water pumped from aquifers. By the way, in Jordan, here in Jordan, we depend not completely, but their part, يعني some of water on earth, some of fresh water on earth comes from groundwater, from aquifers. Okay, DC, عمركم سمعتوا بالDC؟ الDC aquifer. Jordan depends on الDC aquifer that is found in the desert of Jordan near Ma'an, in the south of Jordan. There is LDC aquifer. This is an example of a groundwater. So an aquifer is a tank of water, but a tank of groundwater that is stored under the ground between the rocks. So aquifer is an underground water supplies. People like, for example, here, it is mentioned here in Nebraska, in the United States, they depend on groundwater, on the aquifers. طيب, worldwide, about 1 billion people do not have access to clean water. So this is a very great number. It's a huge number. 1 billion people can't reach, or the clean water is not available for them. Another 2.7 billion people do not have fresh water for at least 1 month a year. That means they don't have water for 1 month. So there is a big problem. We really have a shortage. There is a shortage.
How will we live?
نعم.
How will we live if we don't have any water?
طيب this means طلع شوف they have at least 1 month a year. That means this 1 month not continuous. They يعني if we collect or if we add the number of days all over there that they don't have water, they will add to a month. It doesn't mean that they stay 1 month respectively without water. Get it? I mean,
Yeah.
يعني in some countries,
Yeah.
people do not have fresh water for at least 1 month a year. That means they have, for example, every month, for example, 2 days or 3 days without water. Okay, so by the way, most of African countries, most of African countries suffer from water shortage. So يعني there is a big problem in fresh water supplies all over the year. 1 billion people do not have access to clean water. So they use contaminated or polluted water. Okay, and another 2.7 billion people do not have fresh water for at least 1 month a year. To help solve the problem, people build what? We build reservoirs. People build something called reservoir to store water. The aim or the goal or the purpose of these reservoirs to store water. Okay, طيب. Build people reservoirs, places to what are reservoirs? Are places to collect and store water. طيب, can you give me example of reservoirs in Jordan? Can you give me example for
سد
reservoir?
الملك عبد الله.
ايوه. We dams. Look here. Dams اللي بنسميها بالعربي سدود. Wait a minute please. استنى شوي. Okay.
وادي العرب.
Excellent. Dams. Reservoirs. Dams are examples of what? Of reservoirs. Like in Jordan, for example, سد وادي العرب, وادي العرب dam. Also سد الملك طلال. There are, I think that more than 10 or 9 or 10 reservoirs or dams in Jordan to collect water. Okay? طيب. Reservoirs, people to solve the problem of water, freshwater supplies or shortages, they build reservoirs, places to collect water and store water. طيب. Also, scientists predict that 75% of Earth's people will have water shortages by 2025. يعني that means after 5 years. Scientists assume that 70% of people on Earth will have water shortages by after 5 years. طيب, we have just 4 meetings, just 1 minute. I want to tell you that if we don't change the amount of water we use, we must change our behavior in water use. Scenes such as one on the photo will become more common. Look here, please. Look here, please.
Teacher.
What do you see here? What happens here? Do you know what is this called? What we call this?